going to talk about a thing called the cycle or the circle of fourths and fifths. You can call it cycle or circle, either one. You'll see it being called either of these things at different times. You must first draw a circle, and you must imagine this circle to be a clock. I have drawn 12 points on the clock, and you have to treat each point of the clock as a number. We're going to treat the 12 o'clock position as 0-100 hours. Then we go 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Now you must treat the left hand side of the clock as a mirror image of the right. In other words, instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, you must treat this as a mirror of the right hand side. So this will also be 1 o'clock, this will also be 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock and 5 o'clock. There is a reason for this. Now what you do is you then divide your clock. Imagine you're dividing this. There is a reason why you're dividing it, which I'll explain in a little while. Then what happens is letters appear on the outside of the clock, certain letters, and you're going to figure out how to write those certain letters. And those certain letters, for example, happen to be F, C, G, D, A, E, B. So we're looking at all of the letters that appear beside the points on the clock on the right hand side, and then there's one on the left hand side that we've written. So we've started from the letter F. How do I know what these letters are? Don't forget, you're starting the letters on the reverse 1 o'clock, previously the 11 o'clock position on the left hand side. You're starting with the letter F. How do I know what these letters are? You have to remember a sentence that goes like this. Father Charles goes down and ends battle. If you look at the first letter of each word of that sentence, F, father, C, Charles, goes, G, down, D, and A, E, ends, E, and finally battle, B. That's how you know how to name those. It's extremely important that you know where the F begins. I'm going to say this again. It starts in what was previously the 11 o'clock position, but you treat this as a mirror of the right in terms of numbers. 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, and so on. Okay, what I would do if I were all of you is I would do a squiggly line here that tells you that there is a division between what you're going to realize that your clock, you're going to have to understand that from the F all the way around here, you go in what's known as a clockwise direction. So to get the points on the right hand side, you have to use your sentence and move in a clockwise direction. But to get the remaining parts of the clock, you must move in an anti-clockwise direction. And I'll explain how to get those points in a moment. You must move in an anti-clockwise direction. And this sentence that you just learned, Father Charles goes down and ends battle, is going to also tell you what letters go beside the corresponding numbers on the left hand side of the clock. And those letters are as follows. You notice all of these are just letters of the alphabet. Starting at the F, all of these are just letters of the alphabet. But all of the letters you're going to write in here, from this point here, the missing ones, are going to have a flat symbol after them. They're going to have a flat symbol. For example, the first one is a B, not a B like that one, but a B flat. All of these are going to be something flat, something flat, something flat, and something flat. How do we know what they are? Well, we just look at our sentence, Father Charles goes down and ends battle, and we reverse the sentence by saying battle ends and down goes Charles' father. So we look at the B here, the battle, to get what goes here beside the 3 o'clock position. We go to battle ends, E, 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 not E, as in this E, but E flat. There's a huge difference between those keys. So using that technique again, reverse the sentence, battle ends and the 4 o'clock position, it's A, not A flat. We get to the 5 o'clock position, battle ends and down, D, 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 D flat. Not D, but D flat. And the 6 o'clock position, battle ends and down goes G, not G, but G flat. One extremely important thing to realize is, even though this F is on the left hand side of the clock, it is not F flat. It's not F flat, it's the key of F major. All of these letters that appear, including the flats, these are all keys. What do I mean by a key? A key is a collection of notes or chords that when you play them together allows you to make music, and they all sound brilliant together. That's all a key is. So a key, if I go da, 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 I can go da, 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 that's a different key. Da, 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 da. I've sang that in 3 different keys. There are times when you might raise everything by the same amount of pitch-wise or lower everything by the same amount pitch-wise, and that's usually done to suit a singer's voice, or if you're in a jazz band or something and you're playing a B flat saxophone or blah blah blah, or if you're playing in a trad band and you've got a D whistle or a C whistle. Obviously the other musicians, if you're playing a D whistle, they're going to be playing the key of D major, and that's why people choose keys. Okay, it's important to realize that everything on the right hand side of the clock, everything except C, has a number of sharps in its key. What I mean by, when you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, that's the major scale. But some of those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 notes are going to have a sharp or a flat symbol in some of the notes. And you're going to find out what those sharps and flats are by using this cycle of fourths and fifths. So what this symbol here is, the sharp symbol, is saying that G, for example, is in the 1 o'clock position. So what? Well, the so what is that the scale of G major has 1 sharp in its key, and you'll find out what that sharp is pretty soon. D, the scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, the major scale, these are all major scales on the outside, all major scales. The scale of D major, because it's in 2 o'clock position, because it's on the right hand side, has 2 sharps in its key. Take the extreme version down here. B major, the key of the scale of B major, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, they all sound the same. It's the happy, bouncy do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do scale. The B major scale is in the 5 o'clock position, therefore it's on the right hand side, therefore it has 5 sharps in its key. And you're going to learn what those 5 sharps are. We go to the left hand side. F, not the key of F flat. Notice the way I've written all the flat keys in blue. The key of F is in the 1 o'clock position. So what? Well, the so what is that it's the key of F major, not F flat. The key of F major, it's in the reverse 1 o'clock position. It's on the left hand side. Therefore, it has flats in its key. F is in the reverse 1 o'clock position on the left hand side. Therefore, it has 1 flat in its key. B flat is in the reverse 2 o'clock position, therefore it has 2 flats in its key because it's on the left hand side, and so on. Take an extreme example down here. Key of D flat is in the 5 o'clock position on the left hand side, therefore it has 5, it's in the 5 o'clock position, therefore it has 5 flats in its key. And you're going to learn to figure out very easily and quickly what those flats or sharps are. Now, before we learn how to do that, Remember I said that the outside of the circle tells you what the major key is. And major, you simply know it means happy. Happy sounding. That's a major key. You can be sure of it because it sounds happy and bouncy. But all of these keys share their notes and chords with one minor key. It's like having one miserable parent and one happy parent. They share the same kids. Think of it that way. The kids being the notes of the scale of the key or the chords of the key. So we have happy parent on the outside, miserable parent on the inside. For example, the key of C major and the key of A minor share the same notes and chords. How do we know, for example, that C and the key of what's known as its relative minor key? Its relative minor key. So C and its relative minor key A minor share the same notes and chords. How do we know that G and the key of its relative minor key E minor share the same notes and chords? To find that is really easy. You just go, you say, what's my major key? We look at C major. Well, to find its relative minor key, you simply move +3 places forward. +1, +2, +3. We land on A, come back up here, we write the letter A, and we have to write that little M. That little M always refers to a chord or a key. A chord or a key. You cannot have a minor note, no such thing. You can only have what's known as a natural note, or a sharp note, or a flat note. If you see a little M, it means that could be an A minor chord or an A minor key. It's an A minor key in this instance. So to find the, say for example, we go down here. E, I want to make an important point here. E, to find its relative minor key, we do the same thing. +1, +2, +3, +4. So, you see this? +1, +3, I should say, not +4, +3. And we land on D flat. You see that? E, +1, +2, +3. D flat. Now you could write down D flat minor here, but do not write down D flat minor. Write down C sharp minor. What am I talking about? If you look up on the wall there, go to D flat, the note D flat, and you'll see that the equivalent note is C sharp. They're the same note. A D flat is a C sharp, a C sharp is a D flat. So I'm saying that, say for example down here, you could land on D flat minor. You could call it a D flat, but we're going to call it a C sharp. Why? Because we have to be consistent that the keys we write on the right hand side, we refer to any non-natural note. If it's on the right hand side, we'd call it a sharp. And say for example, you had something flat minor, you'd call it by its flat name. You can come on, Chloe. Thank you. This is being recorded though. So you get that business, even though you've landed on a D flat, look, the relative minor key of E is +1, +2, +3. It's a D flat minor, but we're going to call it a C sharp minor. C sharp and D flat are the same thing. It's the same as this. You see, we want to get the relative minor key of B. We go +1, +2, +3. A flat is the same as you look up there, same as G sharp, isn't it? So we're going to call it by its G sharp minor name, because we're consistent with the sharp business here. It's the same with this. That there, we call it an F sharp minor, not a G flat minor. Because look, +1, +2, +3, land on G flat. So you could call that G flat minor. Now, if you call it by their flat names, you're not going to lose marks in the exam. But this is an understanding thing as much as anything. We're calling all of these by their sharp names. Now, D, its relative minor key, happens to be B minor. So that's the most important thing, to find out the relative minor keys of any major key on the outside. We simply move 3 places forward from the major key. For example, G, its relative minor key is E minor, +1, +2, +3. So we do the same thing with the keys on the left hand side. We want to find the relative minor keys of all of these. So we look at G flat. We go +1, +2, +3. Therefore, the relative minor key of G flat is E flat minor. We look at D flat. We want to find its relative minor key, +1, +2, +3. Therefore, its relative minor key is B flat minor. A flat's relative minor key is +1, +2, +3. It's F minor. Not F flat minor. Not F flat minor. We landed on an F. We have to just write an F minor, not an F flat minor. There's no such thing as a key of F flat. I can hear certain people's brains thinking, well, F flat is not an E. Yeah, it is. E major. Look, if you go to an F flat, it's an E. There's no such thing. And some people, there is. There's not, there is, there's not, there is. At the moment, don't think there's no such thing as an F flat. That's all you need to know. The key of E flat, look, is C minor, because +1, +2, +3, we land on C. We don't land on C flat or C sharp, we land on C. Therefore, the key, relative minor key of E flat is C minor, B flat is G minor, and F is D minor. Now, if you've been playing these together for a long time, I'm talking about a period of years, you'll know all this off by heart. You won't have to figure out all of these things. So now you've seen all the major keys that exist in music plus their relative minor keys. Now, one extremely useful thing that this is used for is, remember we said certain keys have certain amounts of sharps in their major scale, certain other keys have certain amount of flats in their major scales. So let's look at, pick a key here randomly, the key of D major. The key of D major is in the 2 o'clock position, therefore it has 2 sharps in its key. So if I was to write out the scale, for example, of D major, I would write out, first of all, when you're writing out a scale, just write out the letters of the alphabet. Don't think about the sharps or flats just yet. So I'll just write out, make sure I have 8 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's why I'm writing out 8. D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and D. Now, as I said, D major scale is in the 2 o'clock position. So it's telling us it has 2 sharps in its key because it's on the right hand side. What are those 2 sharps? It's very simple. You go back to your sentence. You start with the start of the sentence and you go, Father Charles. So you take the first 2 letters of the first 2 words. And you see that F and C, F sharp and C sharp, are the 2 sharps of the key of D major. For example, when you're writing that on a stave, this is the way it appears. First of all, you'll have a clef like that. You have to write the correct clef, and that's the way the key signature of D major will be represented. The F sharp, because the top line is an F, the treble clef is telling you that, and you see that the top line is intersecting the sharp symbol. The next sharp symbol appears on the C space, and you notice that the center of the sharp line is being intersected by the C space. You have to have the sharps or the flat symbols placed exactly right, so that there is the key signature of D major. That's just an example. And I'll do one more example on the right hand side. We look at the key of E flat. So E flat is in the reverse 3 o'clock position. So what? Why is the 3 relevant? Because it's telling you it's on the left hand side, cycle 4s and 5ths, in the reverse 3 o'clock position, therefore it has 3 flats in its key. What are those 3 flats? Look at your sentence and go backwards. Battle ends. And you notice where this is counter or anti-clockwise, you move in that direction, but this is clockwise. Move in that direction, beginning with the F. So we go back to the key of E flat. We look at the scale of E flat. Start with the note E flat, not E. E flat, F, G, A, B, C, D, and finish with an E flat. That's an octave. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So now we start with our first letter of the sentence, go backwards, B, therefore the B has got to be flattened. You're on the flat side of the circle. B flat, ends, you've already got the E flat, then and. So you've got to flatten the A. So now you have 3 flats. 1, 2, 3. And that key signature would appear as follows. This is a stave, 5 lines on a stave. I have got to write my clef to tell the reader the value of the lines and spaces. This time I've got to place the B flat first. So I am going to make sure the line has been intersected by the flat symbol. A flat symbol is like a slanted B. I'm having difficulty because of the angle writing it down here, but the next one has got to be an E. You've got to put the flat symbol where the E is normally, so that's in the space. And finally, the last one, battle ends and. The last flat symbol goes on the A. So that's the order. Battle ends and. It's got to be in that order. So that is the key signature of the key of, this is extremely important, E flat or its relative minor key, C minor. How will you know what key the song is in? You normally look at the last note of the song. We'll take the key of E flat. If the last note of the song, if that's an E flat, it's in the key of E flat minor. But if the last note is a, if it's finished with a C, then it's probably in C minor. If the piece of music sounds miserable, it's probably in C minor. If it sounds bouncy and happy, it's probably in E flat. Simple as that. Minor, sad, major, happy. Why in the name of God is it called the circle of fourths and fifths after all of that? It's because in a piece of music, the 3 major chords, the 3 bouncy, happy chords, if you want to create a piece of music that's guaranteed to be bouncy and happy like all the music was in the 30s, 40s and 50s on radio and on TV all around the world, you'd never hear a minor chord because they wouldn't allow it. It was all using the 1st and 4th and 5th chords and all of early rock and roll and all of rock and all of that. That's the 1st, 4th and 5th, and you've heard it all before. And that's got by doing the following. So it's called the circle of fourths because you take any key and you say, for example, A major. If you want to find out the 4th of that, you just simply move 1 back. D is the 4th of the key of A. D is the 4th of the key of A. If I want to say the key of D, and I wanted to find out the 4th note or the 4th chord of the key of D, I just go 1 back. G chord is the 4th chord of the key of D. You get it? And the same with that. Take a weird one like this. If I want to find out the 4th chord of the key of B flat, I again go this way. E flat is the 4th chord of the key of B flat, so on. Now we go back to the key of A major. If I wanted to find out the 5th chord of the key of A major, we simply move 1 forward. So E major chord is the 5th chord of the key of A. So if I wanted to say the key of A major, and I wanted to find the 4th chord of it, I go 1 back. D major is the 4th chord of the key of A major. If I want to find the 5th chord of the key of A major, I simply go 1 place forward. That's why it's called the cycle of fourths and fifths. And there's very famous songs in history that use these actual chords. It goes around in a circle. For example, Hey Joe, Jimi Hendrix uses, you literally hear him playing the cycle of fourths in the song. And then something like Light My Fire, The Doors, I don't know if you ever heard that song, that uses the cycle of fifths. It's like an academic exercise and we'll turn it into a rock song. This often happens. If you get good enough on an instrument, you can play these and hear it in action. And that is the cycle of fourths and fifths.